Well, hello and welcome back to Michelle Holden Art. And I don't know if you remember the series that of 16 5x7s that I was creating from the very large black and white sheet of watercolor paper. So if you haven't checked out part or watched part one, I'll leave it in the card in the upper right up here somewhere, and you can continue that series. This is just the next. This is one of the so far 8 I have created. So I have the other 4 away, and you can notice these are the 4 that I'm going to work on. Once I do a group of 4, I like to switch and do sort of the same kind of collage layer or deal with that layer on the 4. So there's some cohesiveness. And so we're still using our intuitive art process, but just in sort of in a more repeated way. So as you can see, the finished product is a lot warmer. This is the finished product than the much cooler with peach as I bring in more elements. So welcome to the channel if this is your first time here. And we were calling these how to be more productive, how to make multiple, a mini series of abstracts starting with black and white. And so I'm going to move these to the side. Let me just show you all of them, nice and close. There's one of my favorites. These were finished in sort of some metallics, and of course my favorite gold and turquoise Uniball paint pens. Some text. This goes this way. And this way. So let's get started. And before I begin a session, I use this basket just at my local dollar store, and I select the same collage papers that were left in here when I finished completing the 8 previous ones. So, of course, you can see there's the blue circles, the text, the blue on neutral, which is here somehow, and so on. So I have the same collage papers, and I put them to the left here. And let's just come on out. So here we go. So here's my table and here's my setup. Let's do it this way. These are the ones I want to not copy, but I want to have the cohesiveness of course, my favorite stencil. I don't see any corrugated cardboard on here, but I might use it anyway. So we'll just put that to the side. I have a pencil, my black and white China marker, right here, and they're ready to go. And I just sort of sit quietly, and I'm moving it around so you can see all the different nuances. An interesting text. I don't have that on hand right now, but that will be a last detail that you can, after maybe your abstracts sit for a day or two, you'll just get some ideas, and that's what I usually do. Not all the time, but most of the time. This collage here is your gestural collage that I show you how I do it in my course that is so close to coming out. This is deli paper, different types of collage, text, the transparent collage, and how it all comes together, and of course layers of paint, and I'll show you the colors that I use for this palette. So I keep my palettes extremely simple. This particular palette is, I'm using more colors than I usually would, which are the turquoise blue in Liquitex, a yellow ochre, or I like yellow oxide, the cadmium orange hue, and of course the parchment. And so what I usually do is I put all four out, and then I would refer to my intuitiveart journaling reflection sheet. Because do I remember the layers? Looking at it, you can sort of guess where, what the layers were. I fortunately have a video that I've recorded them, but I'm not going to do it this time. But I would just write the layers or record on the back, which I have not yet done because I'm really liking how these are turning out. So I don't want to write that on the back. I would write it on my reflection sheet, the layers that I remember. And I remember them mostly, plus they're here, so I'm not going to worry about that. But if I wanted to be a little bit more particular, but that's really not how this process is going, that's what I would do. So, yeah. And I have water-soluble pastels here ready to go if I need them. So then, so of course, plus black and white. And I'm only putting a little bit out. I can see that there's a different blue, which I believe was the cerulean or the light blue, but I'm combining, if I need to, oh, goodness. The turquoise and the light blue. And I really like the orange because it has a nice mixed with the parchment and a little bit of the yellow oxide. It has this peachiness. And that's what I think is really tends to, at least in this series, really bring the blue out because it's a complementary color. So I am going to just start. I'm going to zoom back in, and then I'm going to just paint away, and you can follow along. I'll stop at different intervals and explain my thinking, so we can just slightly speed this up, and I hope you enjoy. I don't know if I'm going to finish them, but I am going to take them to the next stage. And so, as you can see, I'm zooming in, and I am definitely thinking about some more paint, using the turquoise, bringing that different tone of blue that I had there closer, of course, to the other four that I just showed you. And I'm getting out some black and lightening up the value, which I still haven't explored enough with my colors and different color combinations. So I'm just responding I think why I put it there is because there was already blue there and that needed to be covered. As you can see, it's still a little too opaque for me. And then I come in a moment with my brayer to lift some off. You can always lift with, I like newsprint paper because it absorbs the paint really well. But a quick pass with the brayer, you can get some interesting textures, and I really love how transparent it leaves the paint. Gathering my collage pieces that I used in the previous 8, I should say, 5x7 little mini abstracts, and getting my blue circles ready. In the future, I will vary it, maybe even use black and white in amongst or at least change it to white circles. And sometimes lately I've been thinking, okay, what's with all the circles? What if I use those first and then they end up in the background? They're not so predominant in the piece. So these things start happening the more you show up and the more you practice. Adding some more of that yellow oxide there, still warming up the piece. So I thought, well, no, I don't want to go any further. Just to get cohesiveness, I want to do a similar layer to each of the 4 pieces. And I'm getting good at not having the tape. Of course, we started off with the tape, and I can't work on a piece if they're all taped up like that. So I have to take them apart after I have the black and white and maybe some transparent collage and line on there, and then work from there. But if you're worried about the edges, you can always add a mat so you can wipe off. So there, mud started. How I don't get mud, I use cool colors separate from warm colors, and I never have a problem. And so why I use the white is that the neutral down there dried up, and I just didn't want to, have to add more. So then I just went with the throw, saw that little corner at the bottom. You can see it's a little mauvey, but I'm sort of liking that. And then of course that orange bit got there. So putting some of the gloss medium on the edge would have really worked. Okay, so those were some layers of paint for all 4. And I like to, I usually keep my rectangles vertical, but I like that way. I think I like the heavy, I think I like them this way for now. And then what I'll do next is use a layer of collage. Now I know I'm not using my art prompts today. I just wanted to let it flow on my own. Well, not so much on my own. I wanted to resemble what was going on in there. So I'm going to use some neutral text, some brighter yellow, maybe some of these, of course, my blue circles. But before I do that, I think I want to figure out where my white on black sections are going to go. And these were made with the jelly plate. Putting the dots, the circles first on the plate in white, letting it dry, and then coming in with a black. So using odds. Most of the time. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back in and do one at a time. I'm noticing too, if you didn't notice, some are vertical and some are quite long. And this little batch, they're all vertical. So I like that, and I'm going to keep that going. And I'm putting the black and white in amongst the where it's darkest. I don't know if I want to go to the edge. Oh, that looks, but now you see how it's really unbalanced, but that will get fixed. Okay. With, most likely, the stencil counteracting it. Okay. This time I'm using the heavy gloss, the Gloss Super Heavy Gel. And just a brush. So, as you can see, the layers are building. So what I like to do when I'm about, so this is still the beginning phase. We had the black and white. We put on some peach and some very thin, transparent paint layers over some marks. I have not yet added my transparent collage papers or this particular, oh, I love this one. This is the yellow oxide with an interesting tool. I don't have it nearby right now, but it was just tons of circles, like a grid, and I stamped it on the jelly plate and then used the deli wrap paper. And the deli wrap is such a nice thin, see how you can see it's translucent, and I like to just play around and use my intuitive placement when I'm adding not a big piece of this. It's also intuitively, well, not everything's intuitive. It's also with ratio of blue. Do I want mostly blue with a little bit of ochre? And that's what this is. So I want to maintain that to have some cohesiveness. Really loving the cropping there. And you see how that counteracts the big, long vertical piece in the blue. And once you start, at this point, you see there's no rectilinear shapes, though I can see it starting in this piece. Once you start putting down, depending on the shapes of your collage, I like to work with squares and rectangles. I both tear and cut, and I'm really liking that. So let's see what happens in the next couple of layers. So I'm just going to zoom in now and do one at a time. and I won't talk so I can speed this part up. So as I get these pieces ready, and I apologize that I am slightly off camera, but I do notice and bring everything back up so we can see. I'm adding some nice text, that beautiful neutral, and I'm using it to balance diagonally the yellow and in the lower left, and of course it's in the upper right. And I love how these pages differ. Some get really yellow and some stay so neutral. And I don't worry sometimes about the text. As I said earlier, I wanted text on this. The other ones had more meaning. So it just depends what I find, and of course the size of the font, etc. So I'm gluing this down and covering it with a gloss layer. So then I do the same for each one. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm loving this one. Sort of now you want this view going around. I like those lines. I think I'll echo them in a darker. I like this cruciform or quadrant kind of thing. So then I might pick up this shape here and go darker or add a darker blue. So then I want to take a look. I haven't added that stencil in yet, so I think I need to do that first before I go in with a darker layer of blue. And this was made with adding black to the turquoise. So I will remember that. That bubbly texture, not that one. This bubbly texture is created by making a glaze and using the isopropyl alcohol just to spritz on it, and it really creates a cool effect. So let's see what I will do. Yes, I think I'll come in with the stencil, and this is where it's great to overlap. Lately I've been getting crisper results using a dry brush and just some black. Let me move my palette over so you can see. So here's the black. It's a Mars black. And I'm just going to give it a go. I want to overlap it just slightly on that metallic piece of collage. Oh, nice. Okay. And I might just go horizontally. Get a whole different kind of direction up there. So it balances it. Cool. Very high contrast. What I might, if it ends up being too strong, I can always push it back with a veil of my transparent white, which is a Liquitex product. It is great. So in your acrylic paints, it might be good to have some very transparent paints. Okay, and I'm liking how it stayed in this line. I think we'll do a slight overlap here. It didn't really show up, so I'll do it again. It just shows as specks and it shows different, but it does still work. Okay. thinking a stronger black would look really great over these interesting shapes. I just found the eye stood there or stayed there too long. So, and I'm going to follow this vertical line here. And I'm going to go right there. So as you build your repertoire of marks and you get used to your layers and how they work with each other, that's when I started then adding more colors, using 3 colors, which is a red, a blue, and a yellow. And I'm going to keep it like that because I'm loving how it fades down. And it did go over, but I'm going to bring my black lines, and then this will carry the eye around. So I'm loving that. And I just glanced over at my color shaper here, and I'm thinking, now that's really strong. Almost too strong, so I'm going to lift some of that. I didn't want to take over all the peachy pink going on. And I'm glad that you can also do this, because those lines from the line tool, okay, and just more layers, and you see how those black marks way in the beginning now are way in the back, and they're sort of like they're shadows. Okay, so again, I think, no, we'll leave them. I want to see what'll happen. And I'm going to follow that line, but I'm going to make this longer.
Okay, and I continue, so I'll just overlap.
Okay. So it got a little bit messy in there, like it didn't stay in a grid formation, but that's okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to back away so we can take a look at all 4. And sort of compare them. They are really feeling the same. but different. I'm really liking that. Notice in this one, there's a lot more of the, parchment, the neutral. And I love sort of ledger or numbers that are, so I'm going to find some of that. I might come in, I might not even worry about it. There is text on this one. Hole punched collage with, I'm really hitting the lights today, with your hole punching tools. And then my transparent white circles, some blue circles. So I'll put some circles on, and then I think I'm going to just stop here and I think carry on with the part 2. And then the part 2 will finish up the other 4, and then we'll go through them all and see how cohesive they are, and I'll show you how I finish up the details with since there is gold pen and there is pieces of gold collage, which I just love. This is just gold tissue paper from gift wrap. These circles are on, oh, okay, so it's a painted piece of text paper, and it's a very new pencil eraser dabbed on there. So I'll just show you those. I don't know if they'll go. They might. Ooh, yes, right there. Isn't that interesting? And why does it work there? Well, my guess is there's that shape, and you can go dark blue, grade 8, but I know I'm going to put something in there. It doesn't go all the way over, which is okay. Say if you wanted to go all the way over, well, you could just add black paint to that little section. So there's a lot more. Each phase, as you get closer to the end, there's that middle phase, and then towards the end phase, it gets slower and slower as you're really taking in a lot more of all of the elements that you've put together intuitively. So this is a multi-layered collage text, a couple of stencils, and then just sort of some asemic writing. I don't know if it's going. I don't know if I want it all in there. Loving this really sort of semi-metallic piece. So going across the middle is cool, and I might crop that. Notice I'm staying here. I might stop there. I might go over. I might go right here. Yes, right there. Sometimes the collage, or your circles, your transparent collage, I should say, just knows where to go. And I love overlapping on top of another piece of collage, and it really emphasizes the transparency. I'll zoom in a moment so you can see better. And I love how the deli wrap just melts away once you add that medium. And sometimes it bubbles, but it's very easy to take the bubbles out. And I know if I had, which I've run out, and there's the thing, making notes in your self-reflection, need to make more blue or white transparent papers with circles. So do I want, I'm going to go vertical here. And I'm just putting the blue circles near some blue just because I think that's the best spot. Everyone's different. And I'm loving how this thin piece of deli paper veils and just pushes that layer underneath it back. So you're getting subtle differences, low contrast, high contrast. Okay, so okay. I almost lost one because it looks so much like the other ones. So funny. I think I'm going to be able to finish these, which is so cool. I don't think I need any more. Oh, there's no circles on this one. That's what happened. Okay, so let's just move these three out of the way. We'll finish the fourth one. That's what I was going to do. Yes. And see, when you do that, it just creates this shape. Now, of course, I want to crop that edge. And you see this big circle that we made, you know that it continues and it's much larger, and we're still going to get to see it underneath this transparent collage. I'm missing my other brush that I left out, but we will work to get it back. Okay, so now you see you have this shape. So should I go lighter or darker? Well, my instinct or my intuition says a little darker. So I'm just going to make a little glaze. And if I'm going to do this to this one, I want to do it to all four of them. And this is the glaze with the isopropyl alcohol. And it might be a little dark right now. And we're only going to come to here. So now we have this interesting shape started. Okay, so I'm going to lift some of that. I like to use newsprint. Okay. And if we were to do this with the isopropyl alcohol, then you get that really cool texture. So now we've made this. So this is a little close, and I might even, just because of what it caused, I'm going to bring some of it down. So now it's not so high contrast, but you know it's different. Even coming in with a slightly, maybe a more turquoise or an aqua green, or No, it's too brown. I know what I'm looking for. Okay. Let's try some of this. Try this idea. Yes. So now I'm using my water-soluble pastel, and I know it's not going to be the same blue as on the other ones, but okay. So I'm just going to let that dry. So now it's not, so it's different from that one, and that's all I wanted. So I'm going to put some here, but I'm going to make it even thinner. Yes, that's much, much better. And you see how this joined this big shape. So I'm going to do this. Really loving that. And I'm just going to let it just do its thing. Okay. I think the darker on the bottom, just to give it some weight. And I'm loving how you can still see my shadows. Okay. Let's lift it a bit. Show a close-up. It's just a very subtle texture, but it's still a texture. Now, I like how that's going up and it's light. Maybe here. Yes, and it just needs a little touch. And maybe bringing the eye up. I'm going to just see. If I don't like that, I'm going to really lighten it up. It's almost like a gradation going from left to right. I think. Notice how the cool blue is pushing that back. Now I'm left with this interesting peachy shape, but you see how it's so central? So I'm just gonna do this. Beautiful. Okay. So let's take one last look before we add our line and our sprinkle, because we do have a seed right away. This needs more of that black when it's next to the others. It just is calling for it. And last minute, you might do the same thing. So I don't want the same. Interesting. I could do that. And it pushes that collage back. I think we will. And then underneath those circles in the lower left, I'm going to add some black line, my vertical lines that I love to use. Okay. Yeah, see, it just was missing a piece. Okay. I don't think it needs it. I think we'll leave that. Okay. Let's take another peek. Oh, we need some gold. And I'm cutting them as differently as I can. And of course, I'm going to put my gold in, where did I put it? Sort of very tiny, tiny amount. This one already has some metallic to it, so I don't think it needs it. This will go here. I'm glad I could peel it because I like it at the edge. Oh. There. Like I said before, that's just gold tissue. I love using these pieces of the negative space. Oh, here it is, see? There. I don't know if it changes it too much. I think it does, so I'm just going to do this. And go right here. Yep. And I'm putting it with the orange and pink, so the composition will stay mostly intact. And then it creates another shape that might be too strong, but I'll leave it for now. And if the next day after it sits overnight, you don't like it, you can paint over it. I can maintain that, or I can put the very opaque this tone over it and just start again. But I don't know if I will, so I'm just going to leave it. All right. So I'm going to use some line work. It's telling me all I need is some spatters and some line work. I don't want these too busy, and or black China marker and or black Posca marker. Oh, that's white. I don't think I want white. So as I said, I think I'll zoom in for this so you can see how I do the line work. Give me a moment here. So with this, you can see these white lines. I just like to echo what's already there. And I overlap, and that's all I'll do. If I don't see any lines, I make them up, of course, responding to the energy that's there. Just bringing the eye from left to right, bringing it up. Now we'll just do a little spatter with my brush. And let's see the other ones. So these have white circles and some mapping, which I had, but I just didn't get that far. I'm loving these bigger lines with space. I will be showing you how you do that. And see, there's a little bit of raw umber on this one. So I would make notes of that in my self-reflection PDF printout. Of course, my materials and just sort of thoughts and feelings. So I hope you take your intuitive art journaling and take it upon yourself to follow along with this abstract mini-series, being more productive, making 16 5x7s, and through repetition, using the same palette, the same sequence of layers, you'll really start to understand and your true voice, and things will start showing through. So don't forget to like and subscribe and jump on my email list to get your free art prompts and free self-reflection PDF, and I will see you in the next video.